During my over 30 years of researching ufology, I've spoken with many pilots and military officers from around the world who had intriguing UFO stories and sightings to share. Recently, a story from a 35-year CIA veteran by the name of Chase Brandon made national headlines when Lee Spiegel from the Huffington Post posted a story about Brandon's claims that he viewed documents held by the CIA that confirmed the Roswell incident was of extraterrestrial origin. Brandon first told this story on Coast to Coast. Then in an interview with Spiegel, Brandon stated, quote, "It was a vaulted area and not everybody could get in." Whether Brandon's story can be confirmed or not, it seems that more and more retired military officials or ex-government workers are coming out and sharing their experiences of what they have witnessed. At the recent International UFO Congress, an ex-fighter pilot approached me and wanted to tell his story. Retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Dick French spent over 25 years in the Air Force and claims to hold the record for the most combat missions. He also had a military intelligence position where it was his job to debunk UFO sightings. Recently, I sat down and spoke with French about his experiences and his thoughts on how our nation deals with the UFO secrets.
We were basically told to debunk any of them that we could in any way we could.
Dick French is a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel with 27 years of service. His military experience has taken him around the globe, where he's flown fighter planes over Korea and Vietnam, worked in military intelligence, and been exposed to some of our nation's biggest secrets.
I ranked #1 in the entire Air Force in the number of total combat missions I have. I have a little over 600. The man that's #2 has a little over 500. I'm the one that set up the air-to-ground gunnery, night gunnery program for Luke. I wrote all the SOPs, designed it, taught people how to do it. I flew 86s in the Korean War, and I also have Korean service. It was ground service. Among the other things I did, I'm a former prisoner of war interrogator. I was actually at Kojido when the riots happened on Kojido. So I kind of got a checkered career. I've been in a lot of things.
French resides just outside of Sedona, Arizona, where he lives with his wife of 1 year, Dottie. The two were introduced to each other by their grandchildren at a birthday party for Dottie and fell for each other instantly. French began his career in the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, where he would conduct stakeouts to remove personnel who were breaking the military code of conduct. Feeling unfulfilled in this role, French moved on to pilot training school.
That was put in the 6004th AISS, it's Air Intelligence Service Squadron. I had the duty of investigating any reported UFO. Now, my job actually was to debunk it, do anything I could to say, well, like it was swamp gas, or it was this, or it was that. You'd go in and collect evidence, any photographic evidence they had, and interrogate him regarding such things as the type of approach they made, how they happened to see him, and this sort of thing. What their estimated their capability when they left, if the thing took off, how fast did it climb, how did it turn.
In this position, French was able to investigate some very intriguing and mysterious UFO cases.
This UFO pulled right up on his wing, sat out there for about maybe 10-15 minutes on the left side, which is the pilot side, and I'm sure the UFO pilot knew it. But anyway, that's the pilot side. And then he dropped down underneath it, came up on the other side of it, sat there for another 20 or 30 minutes, and then he'd fly off a few miles and then come back, and one thing and another. In the meantime, they got to where the FIR, it goes right into a control zone, airport control zone for landing at Tokyo. And as soon as he called Tokyo Control, for a slot time, to let down and so forth, the thing just turned, very sharp turn up to his left, and away it went. They had a UFO report down to the Hanford Atomic Energy Plant. He scrambled on that, he and his wingman, and he got up on they were flying 86Ds, pulled up alongside them, and then, the way you force somebody to turn, I wanted to turn them in and make them land. What happened is when it didn't do it, so he dropped the pod, they gave him clearance to fire, but before he could pull the damn trigger, he blew up. They explained that. They said what happened, they had a problem, a malfunction with the fuel control, and the airplane just blew up. They used some kind of electrical weapon of some kind, because the second the pod came down, boom, instead of the rockets going out and knocking down the UFO, the airplane blew up.
His position in the military exposed French to many high-profile people, and he even claims to have met Colonel Corso.
Yeah, I know. I met Corso after that incident happened, you know, down in New Mexico. When he called in, you know, that he had pieces of it, and they came out, and what they actually did, they took all of the pieces away from him. They also took the bodies, both alive and dead. They took all of those to Wright-Patterson to the Foreign Technology Division under Paul Sleeper. From there, when they finished, a lot of that stuff they took to Area 51.
French has taken his military experiences and written a novel about them. His book, Macedonian Gray, is the story of a jet fighter pilot's life, both on and off the battlefield.
I wrote that as a novel for the simple reason that I'm concerned about getting sued. So I wrote it as fiction. However, a great deal of it is based on fact. Had I tried to write about this, say 20 years ago, I wouldn't have gotten away with it. I mean, whether they'd have killed me or what they'd have done with me, but I'm sure I wouldn't have gotten away with it. But now, at my current age, and also there's a general loosening up of all of the UFO information. That's it's a lot more open than it used to be. I think for those two reasons that I can go ahead and write about this without putting myself in personal danger.
I'm still currently researching Lieutenant Colonel French's background. Having interviewed him at length twice, I do have reservations about some of his disclosures. However, it is obvious to me that French was with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations and that part of his duties were to debunk certain UFO incidents for the Air Force.
I think without a doubt that it's got to break. The reason being that statistically, if you ask people whether they believe that UFOs are real or not, and the vast majority of people say, oh yeah, there's got to be something, there's too much evidence. I'll be very surprised if it remains like it is for another 20 years. I expect it. I mean, there's too much evidence, too many people that know better. You know, they absolutely know better.